Hi, welcome to video number 8 of this series where I show you how to build an AI agent, basically a voice AI agent that talks to you, brainstorms with you on a phone call, and then it takes that conversation and dumps it into a Google Doc. Additionally, you can add more integrations to it, like your Google Calendar, your Google Drive. It can search the web for you for latest news and so on and so forth. The limits are like literally your imagination. You can build custom solutions to this AI agent. It's basically like your sidekick. Okay, in this episode, what we're gonna do is we're gonna interface Vapi with n8n. We're gonna program Vapi in a way that Sarah, this AI agent that we built in Vapi, is gonna trigger something on n8n. So before doing that, I would like to explain one simple concept to you guys. There are these two simple concepts. One is called an API, Application Programming Interface, and one is called a webhook. As I said, it's a no-code, no programming required for this workshop or this series. It's okay, but these are the only two little things that you can imagine that needs to be done. So whenever somebody, there is a very small difference between a webhook and an API. So imagine if we're using n8n, we are using an API from n8n, and then let's say we have like a custom solution here, and that custom solution is something doing, let's say VoiceKit, my last company. If it is calling something from n8n, and then it's receiving back a response, that something could be create a workflow, execute a workflow, and so on and so forth. That's called an API call. So it is usually an HTTP request, Hypertext Transfer Protocol request, and there is an HTTP response. So that is an API happening. But what is a webhook? Webhook is usually on our side. So imagine the same thing if I have a service running on my side and I have triggered something on n8n, okay? And that something is going to take some time. It's going to take whatever amount of time. When I trigger it, it goes on n8n in case of webhook, and n8n processes it. I basically, let's say, trigger it with an API call, a simple API call. And I also provide a webhook, so-called a webhook URL. So I also provide a webhook URL. It could be like just a URL. And in here, this will take some time. Let's say it's going to take a tremendous amount of time. And once it is done, then it comes and calls one of my APIs. Which API are we talking about? This API that I provided when I was calling it. And the same API comes back, and then it's going to call that API whenever that time is up. So it's going to call my API. Okay? That external service, when calls my API, that is the webhook architecture. It can be based on time. It can be based on a trigger. It can be based on an event. For example, when you receive an email in your mailbox, then a webhook is triggered. So what we're going to do is, let's go to n8n, and let's go to the dashboard of n8n. And we created this Samantha before. Let's remove all of these ones. Let's put here a webhook. A webhook basically is a URL that you can call it from anywhere else. You call basically this workflow, and then this workflow triggers and then does something. So when you click on listening, you can actually send a request to this. Let's go back, click on stop listening, change this to post. There are different types of APIs or different types of HTTP requests that you can do, from delete, get, head, patch, post, to put, to a few others. But let's pick post for now and leave all the others the same. Click on listen. Right now it's in listening mode. If I click this, it copied that URL in my clipboard. Let's go back to Vapi. And then let's go to Tools, click on Create Tool, and then click on Function. And here, create something called create Google Doc. This tool will create a Google Doc. Click on async, and then down here where it says server URL, just paste this one, okay? After this, let's save it. Let's go back to assistants, find Sarah, and then go to functions. And then down here from the list of tools, select the tool that we have just created, which is create Google Doc. And if you click on publish, now this latest change is there. It's better to write it in the post. You have access to my Google Docs. When the user asks to save the content in Google Docs, use the tool save to Google Docs. Internally, Vapi probably is putting this kind of a system prompt, but it's good to kind of like give the extra confidence to the LLM to call that function or call that tool on our behalf. Basically what it happens is during the conversation, if I ask to call or to save my content in Google Docs, it will go and see that, oh, I have this tool for this purpose. And then it goes and finds that tool and then executes it. One more thing in advance, if you go down here, you will see a whole lot of different features. Try to uncheck all the other options and leave only function call. If you basically read through it, these are different triggers when are called, like end of call report, status update, hang up, and so on. You can trigger different messages based on those different events. We all need is function call on those two sides. I'm going to publish that. Everything is set up. Let's go back to Samantha on n8n, make sure that this is running. Apparently it should just work fine. Let's give it a try.
Hey Amal, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, how are you?
I'm just a program, but I'm here and ready to help you. What can I assist you with today?
Can you save this conversation to my Google Docs?
I've saved our conversation to your Google Docs. If you need anything else, feel free to ask.
Thank you. So that's how it basically works. Under the hood, it did an HTTP request. Basically, this was general concepts. Let me explain what happened behind the scenes. So we had Vapi here, and then we had, let's say, n8n in here. And Vapi under the hood, this diagram can get really big. I just want to keep it as abstract as possible. Vapi did an HTTP request to n8n. That's how simple it was. How it detected it, this concept is interesting. Maybe in advanced topics I can cover it, but for now we need to just know this much, that Vapi at certain circumstance decided to call that endpoint, that HTTP request. The other terms are called endpoint or API or REST API. These are the terms used for the same thing. It basically requested that I have a tool attached to me which is called create Google Doc, and the user's intent is to create a Google Doc because this description basically is used for matching that little thing, that little intention of the user. And then this is the URL that I need to hit. And it hit that URL on Vapi, on n8n. And then on n8n, if you see, I got a response here. And this response is something we're going to do in the next episode to wire it up with the next steps. So basically what we have done in this episode is that we integrated an interface between Vapi and n8n, and then in the next video I'll show you how to make use of that API call. Thank you.